This particular time, we're heading straight to the press review as we see what's making headlines into the print media. And as usual, I've just quoted the papers, the hard copy, just right now in just a few minutes back. Okay, I have the new vision first. Definitely, I'm going to review that as we see government considers new tax policies for manufacturers. That is something so remarkable. The State Minister for Privatization and Investment, that's Evelyn Anite, has said government is considering new tax policies that's to support local manufacturers to enable them compete with the big foreign manufacturers. So you can see that that is a very initiative through the taxation policy. It will be they will be in position to support the local manufacturers to compete with the foreign best manufacturers. And of course, according to a statement here, she said that I'm going to have a meeting with the Ghana Revenue Authority and these investors because of the current policies, because the current policies don't not support that the local manufacturers of motor vehicle spare parts. And this is something this is something new that was not happening in our country, and we need to put up a place of a new policy, and of course to review the already existing policies. And one of them is catching on the taxation to enable them compete effectively with the local manufacturer, with the foreign best manufacturers. All right, still moving on here, as we see how parents will pick kids from Wende and Kasanda, as we know that these places there is a current lockdown going on, and just ways, and since the time is about to close, about by 25th of November, we see parents. How will the parents pick kids from Wende? So that's a question that is being asked by quite lots of the personnel into that particular region. All right, still on the new vision, seeing what's transpiring as we see on in the world of business. All right, we see that Kampala City Council Authority secures that's a workplace for street vendors. Rather, Kampala City Council Authority has secured about 8.8 acres that's of land for traders who have been operating businesses on the streets on the downtown of Kampala. Sorry. The available land has been under the management that's of two warring groups of 8 traders who put a hoarding wall around it, claiming the ownership right there. And of course, the traders have 2 leadership factions, of course, headed by Geoffrey Kaita, the chairperson of the Chivubo. Quite so many here as we see land vacated for the street vendors in Kampala. And that's to be in position to transact their businesses. I think this could be something very remarkable in that. Okay, then still in the new vision, we see government loses over 11 billion shillings, loses 11 billion over power line vandalism. And of course, although it will cost Uganda Electricity Transmission Company Limited over a sharp to replace the 5 newly vandalized that's towers, the economic loss of government is estimated to be over sharp just in 1 week. So that's regarding that. Government losing 11 billion over power vandalism. Still in, okay, let me put the new vision aside. It's exactly 41 minutes. We must be heading into the international news, but we shall review just a few more reports in the Daily Monitor here and see what's really making headlines. It's just new. I'm just getting it out of the cover. That's why I have to really take my time to open it, and of course we'll review it together. All right, still looking at that. President Museveni stops movement of log trucks that's in Mubende, Kasanda. Of course, yesterday during his address to the nation, those are matters that he was really addressing regarding the state of Ebola in the country. So he stopped movement of log trucks that's in Mubende and Kasanda. Okay, that's what's regarding that. That's regarding Ebola, which is really causing quite lots of tensions among quite so many citizens in Uganda. All right, now I'm going to wind up with the aspect here of the workers' unions throw out their chairman. Let me say that as we see that a total of 24 out of 34 workers' unions under the national that's the National Organization of Trade Unions, that's NOTU, have passed a vote of no confidence into their chairman as the bodies and of course their former chairperson being put out of the office. During a general council meeting at a tightly guarded hotel that's in Kampala yesterday, the unions accused their former chairman of incompetency, dictatorship, and intrigue. Quite so many workers in this country have been facing quite a lot of challenges and looking at that some have gone months without getting money. And it seems that the trade unions, the workers' unions that they ascribe to have not really done the best to ensure that their living conditions are really catered for or really taken into great consideration. All right, we see still here government spends 236 million shillings daily on road accident victims. That's a report regarding that. The government spends at least 236 million shillings daily to treat road crash victims in critical conditions. A new report presented in the parliament indicates. So you see that. That's very, very sad right there. That's quite a huge amount of money right there. And of course, schools put on notice over new curriculum. Yes, the schools have been put on notice over the new curriculum. So that is something to also look into regarding that. And of course, African governments, we see urged to invest in agriculture. Wow, very remarkable. Still in the Daily Monitor. So we've come to the end of the press review. And it's exactly 44 minutes past the hour of 7. And let's get straight to the international news. Yes, talking about international news, of course, we're going to start with Kenya, and what's really making headlines, which was really all over yesterday, was the tycoon Bill Gates that's arriving in Kenya, of course, to meet officials, also government officials, private sector players, and also looking at regional scientists and innovators. The co-chair of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation was also expected is also expected to announce the foundation's forward-looking commitment to support that new innovations and ingenuity aimed at improving health, food security, and gender inequality in the African countries. Gates and other foundation leaders will also visit smallholder farmers outside of Nairobi, who are using digital tools to help with climate that's adaptation, and see how primary health care clinics have delivered care during the pandemic and helped address ongoing threats like HIV, TB, malaria, and learn more about how leaders are charting with the path forward despite the challenging economic conditions with investments in the youth innovations and entrepreneurship. One of the greatest challenges which a majority of the African nations have been facing is regarding, and of course, the money that they spend on the health facilities, health-related facilities, and of course, that is affecting their GDP, affecting expenditure, and of course, Bill Gates is looking into that to ensure that he invests into the health sector. And of course, when we have the healthy citizens, definitely business will move on very smoothly. All right, still regarding this report, Bill Gates will also participate in a conversation with university students that's at the University of Nairobi. That is on Thursday, that is tomorrow, November 17th, to learn and share perspectives on how innovative tools and approaches can bolster, and of course, efforts to increase food security and support climate adaptation across Africa. So we are looking at the aspect of food security and climate change adaptation. As we see, it's quite a great concern among so many individuals right there. Reports indicate that he will visit the Makueni, that's Mother and Child Hospital, and the Kanto Nzweni Healthcare. Bill Gates will announce Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation's commitment to supporting new innovations and ingenuity aimed at improving health, food security, and of course gender equality in the African countries. Regarding that, the founder of Bill and Melinda Foundation last visited the country, that was in 2016, and appraised innovations of the young Kenyans. I guess we need also such visitations and looking into our innovation sector as Ugandans. If it can happen for Kenya, why not us? That is something very remarkable. So that is something of great importance regarding the growth and development of Kenya. I believe by the time it's done with this trip, quite lots of aspects will have been really looked into, and there will be a way forward. Of course, we shall be doing a follow-up regarding the story of what the anticipations and what has been the impact of him being in the country of Kenya, but most especially looking at the impact in the sector of innovations. Of course, we shall be giving you more updates regarding his visit to Kenya. All right, now away from the East African region, we head to the United States of America as we look at Amazon preparing mass job cuts as sales slow. The reductions could affect roughly 3% of office staff at the e-commerce giant, or about 10,000 people. Of course, the U.S. media reports. The U.S. media reported, citing anonymous sources. Amazon did not respond to a request regarding this comment. Okay, the point here is that the cuts are expected to affect divisions such as personal devices and e-commerce, but definitely Amazon did not respond to a request for that comment. The company had already introduced a hiring freeze and halted some of its warehouse expansions, warning it had overhired during the pandemic. It also took steps to shut some parts of its businesses, cancelling projects such as personal delivery robots. What's really happening in the world? Recently we saw, of course, Twitter doing the same when Elon Musk came, and we see the aspect of Facebook laying off the workers, and now we see Amazon. Quite lots of companies are doing this in such a time. Amazon, during the COVID-19 pandemic, got quite so many delivery personnel. The workforce really increased greatly simply because since we were in a lockdown and e-commerce really took charge, that was the only way out. That's the only time people used to really buy things online, So that it so happened that they recruited so many personnel to work into the stores, and yet the economy wasn't really the best, and it's now catching up with them after a long time. And this was witnessed when their stocks, of course, we see them collapsing, and of course that is really causing anticipations of possible losses, and majority of the shareholders in this particular company ended up selling their shares at quite relatively cheaper prices. Sorry about that. All right, still regarding this report, we see that last week the company said that reducing expenses would be a focus in its normal review of the business operations. It's like I told you, they got quite a lot of a big workforce, and which wasn't matching the economic trends that was during the COVID-19 pandemic. As part of this year's review, they are taking course, of course, into account the current macro environment and considering opportunities that's to optimize costs. That's what the company said. The exact number of jobs that will be cut remains fluid, according to the media reports. Amazon has been grappling with a slowdown in online sales after business boomed as during the pandemic. Though overall revenue rose 15% in the most of the recent quarter, the firm remained cautious about the outlook as the slowdown expands into other areas, including its cloud computing unit, Amazon Websites, which has long powered, and of course, its profit. Founder Jeff Bezos, who stepped down as chief executive but remains chairman of the board, said on social media that it was time to batten down the hatches. Amazon joins a string of other tech companies that have announced job cuts, warning, of course, of a downturn of the economy. And this includes Meta, a parent of Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, who also recently said it would cut 11,000 jobs. And of course, the biggest reduction in the history, or roughly 13% of its workforce. So you see other companies, and here we see WhatsApp pledging to cut 11,000 jobs. That's very big. Overall, US-based tech companies shed more than 28,000 jobs so far this year, more than a double that was a year earlier, according to a report by the different economic analysts. All right, we come to the end of the international news this morning as we look at Kenya suspending bulk avocado exports for 3 good months. Kenya has suspended bulk avocado exports pending a review in January, and of course next year, in efforts to protect the market for the local produce. Horticulture Crop Director, that's Benjamin Tito, says that a survey carried out last month established that there is a shortage of mature fruits to support large orders and deter export immature fruits that might affect shipment of Kenyan avocados. The directorate says the off-season crop is inadequate to support shipment and will interfere with the cropping cycle of the trees, and of course thereby reducing projected volumes in subsequent harvests. To avert the sale of the immature Kenyan avocado in the international market and protect the Kenyan brand, the Horticulture Crop Directorate closed the harvesting season for Hass, Field, and of course looking at Pinkerton and Jumbo varieties and shipments by sea for 2021-2022 season. Exports of off-season avocados shall only be done by air subject to inspection and approvals from the Directorate. The suspension applies to all exporters that sell fresh avocado and avocado oil. The Horticulture Crop Directorate says that avocado export suspension will be reviewed in January, that's next year, after an assessment and course on the available stocks is carried out. The export suspension comes after Kenya shipped 1.7 million kilos of avocado, of course with Kenyan shillings worth 7 billion in the last 3 months after China relaxed export requirements to allow the importation of fresh avocado exports. Alright, that's of course the end of looking at Kenya suspending bulk avocado exports for 3 good months. It's exactly 54 minutes past the hour of 7 a.m. and at this particular time, let's get straight to the business tips and quotes. But firstly, let's review the business tip of the day. The business tip of the day says tell your story visually and says that visuals can help your message become that's actionable. And you see, of course, things like video, whiteboards, images, and other pictures will show you your prospect's problem, and of course, it will be solved with what you're selling. By using images, you create contrast, which can create the feeling of urgency, which will help you close the sale. All right, now tell your story visually. You have this dream, you have this wonderful vision about this company you want to build or any project that you're trying to work on. What is the end? Because before you start something, you need to have the end in mind. And the only way you can have the end in mind is when you've actually researched and get to understand what you really want. What do you want to see? So in that aspect, this will help you to visualize what you're thinking and put it out there. And when it's on vision, it will really inspire you to ensure that you fulfill that you're supposed to fulfill at that particular time. All right, let's wind this up with the business quote of the day. The business quote of the day says, I find that the harder I work, the more luck I seem to have. I think this is what we did yesterday. And of course, for the new time viewers, I'm not going to really speak so much about it. Hard work and luck, like in most cases, the people that we call lucky are simply prepared people. When luck meets preparation, definitely success is inevitable. Right, it's 56 minutes past the hour of 7 a.m. and at this particular time, let's get into a short commercial break. We shall be returning with the coffee court. Good morning.